welcome back to the channel. So really the hot topic these days is going to be, shallow subs. A lot of trucks out there and, really you're limited to space, volume. And so, manufacturers have come up with ways to build subwoofers that are efficient in small enclosures, tight spaces, low volume boxes. And so, really we want to just try some out, see how they work out. So what we got here is a Rockford Fosgate. This is a P3. It's an SD4. So good looking sub. I'm very familiar with this sub. I have run it in a vehicle of mine for a long time. And, I was curious, how does it compare to some of the other ones on the market? This subwoofer is just part of several subwoofers we're going to be doing a shallow subwoofer shootout test in. So look in the description for a link to that playlist and watch for the others. And you know what? We're going to test a bunch of these and we're going to find out. And today we're going to test this thing. We're going to do it in vehicle. We're going to kind of get some SPL measurements and, just an overall sound quality. So let's go over the specs on this thing. All right, so let's roll over to our good friends at Crutchfield, and these things retail for 239 bucks. And let's check out the specs here. So, really RMS, it says 50 to 400 watts. It's pretty typical. So it's probably pretty decent. I've run some okay power to this thing. It's got a really nice shallow 3 11/16 mounting depth. Sensitivity is 85, which is decent. And the cool thing is sealed box volume, 0.6 to 1.2 cubic feet. And I'm gonna go over the box that we're gonna be using for all the subwoofers that we test. And if you wanna put it in a ported box, which, I don't know why you'd have a shallow sub in a ported box, because where are you gonna put the port? Generally you're fighting for space. So let's go over some of the specs on this thing. We've got an FS of 34, which is decent. QTS is 0.72. X max in millimeters is 8.4, which is not a lot, which would tell us, because they've made this subwoofer so compact, maybe that's all she's got. So let's get this thing in a box. We'll get it in a vehicle and we're gonna test this thing out. All right, we've got the Rockford P3 sub in the truck, and I played around with a couple of different locations, and I found that this is probably the best sounding, and I played a lot of different music on it. So now, unfortunately, we're going to use our crap music on it. All right, so, because you guys want to know, I've got the SPL meter in here, and we've got some test sweeps on here, and we'll see how this thing will do. All right, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it. The most decibel meters don't start reading until you hit about 120 decibels, and so we're not even able to register on this thing, but I did get it to just bump over 120.2 at 45 hertz. That was the peak, and I'm not gonna push it because I can smell this thing, and it's in a sealed box, and when you can smell it in a sealed box, yeah, so All right, so we worked this thing pretty hard. Yeah, I can smell a little bit. It's not cooked. I mean, if it's cooked, you could hear it scratchy or whatever. Fairly impressed with this thing. Like I said, I've actually used this subwoofer for a long time. Okay, it's got some miles on it. It's still in really good shape, and it's always performed pretty well. Okay, and power wise, I think this thing was seeing probably somewhere in its power limit range. 500, 600 watts. Um, you know, so sound wise, this is great. If you're looking for, some slap and bass output, get two of them. But I would say it was good. So we're gonna do more of these tests with these shallow subs. So I want you to like, subscribe, do all that stuff, because get notified, because there's gonna be a whole bunch of these to follow. So I think for the money, this is a pretty okay subwoofer, but we're gonna see if this thing's really a good value. Okay, so I'm gonna say that it is a good subwoofer. Okay, it does have its limitations, but it has its limitations because of its design. Okay, and I think maybe perhaps its lack of X-Max really holds this thing back a little bit. But I ran it before in a much bigger ported box just because, and I think its bass output was a little bit better, but it was like a 2 cubic foot box, something you wouldn't even have in a truck. So anyways, keep watching. We'll have the shootout. We'll see how this thing ranks. Catch you next time.